The UNTOC is the treaty body for a very important convention which responds to organized crime, and of course the reason the global initiative is here is that this is one of the key platforms when we can engage with member states and UN colleagues about how to respond to the issue of organized crime through the multilateral system, through the UN system.
So we are hosting a series of events and looking at the different forms of organized crime, but also, of course, engaging in bilateral meetings with member states and also seeing how we can partner and create alliances with other larger civil society actors.
This year is very special for us because from the Resilience Fund we were able to invite a very special group of activists, of leaders, people who are very involved in building resilience in their communities.
And it's actually the first time that they get the opportunity to speak to the member states and explain how organized crime is affecting their communities.
Estoy en Viena para traer la voz de los pueblos indígenas sobre la situación que estamos enfrentando sobre crimen organizado, tala ilegal, minería ilegal, ¿no? Porque para nosotros es sumamente importante que a nivel global se conozca la situación que estamos enfrentando en la Amazonía, los pueblos indígenas.
But coming here to see what really happening on the global sphere, what really happening when decision makers are meeting was the main motivation of me being here. So just learning how to connect what I work or what I do back at home with nature crimes. How exactly can I make that impact, a solid impact with the work that I do back at home?
In any policy discussion, it's very important to hear a diversity of voices. That's the reason to make sure that civil society and others who are working on different criminal markets, who are responding, who are feeling the harms, should be present.
The space for civil society has to open more to underrepresented entities. And this is a missing link because we're talking about crimes that affect a society, and we cannot just discuss this from a governmental perspective. So I think that is really one thing that is missing here.
One of the focus of our participation in the COP this year is a report essentially questioning whether or not the UNTOC is working.
Why? Because there is not enough data on transnational organized crime, but also on the implementation of the convention itself.
What we do know is organised crime is growing in strength, in diversification, and in impact and harms around the world. What we don't know is whether the legislation contained in the UNTOC is being implemented effectively.
That doesn't mean that the GI is not a supporter of the convention, in fact completely the opposite. But we think that it's time to take a hard look at whether or not it's succeeded in its stated objectives and what can be done to strengthen the convention, which we think is a very important tool against organized crime.